Vinny, we're back with Bob Chapman from the International Forecaster. And Bob, we were reading your world-renowned newsletter, economic newsletter, the International Forecaster. And on page 34 from a subscriber, his name I do not know, but he says, I am from Leeds, and we have total chaos. Shops burning, police cars turned over, rioting, and buildings on fire in London. It's gone crazy. The government is now talking about bringing in the army and help the police. And Bob, it's just a bad situation over there in London. What's your assessment?
Well, the lady who wrote that is a journalist, a writer. She just finished a book. And my assessment is that, as I said earlier, things are not going very well in England. And they aren't in many places. And people don't have jobs. They're not making enough money to feed themselves. Inflation is hurting them. And you have these issues that come up, and one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden they have chaos. Most of the rioting was done in minority and poor areas, and the police were told at the beginning to stand down by the Queen, and that didn't work very well. And it was such that groups of 100 men at a time got together and went after the looters and the malefactors and captured them and tied them up and held them for the police because there weren't enough police. And the military is off in Iraq and Afghanistan and other points throughout the world. And so they couldn't get them back that fast even if they wanted to. But that's going to happen throughout the world as things continue to degenerate, and they will. And we're not going to have chaos that's going to bring a collapse over the next few months. They're trying, the people who control this thing, and it's being done deliberately, are trying to draw it out. And I would expect this could last another 3 to 5 years without any problem whatsoever, that degenerative process.
So what we're saying is this is not an imminent threat. We're looking at
chaos.
I
call 5 years imminent because it gives you time to get prepared, put away your freeze-dried and dehydrated food, your water filter, and have things to defend your family and be able to accumulate enough money to get generators and other things, and connecting with other people who are of like mind.
This is great news, Mark, because that means we're going to be able to get through the expo.
Absolutely.
Before the chaos begins.
Hopefully the one in the fall, and then all of the expos next year and beyond, Vinny. People got an opportunity to learn some really good information before really mass chaos sets in here in America. And Bob, I've been reading the reports just today that theft, certain types of theft. I think it was grand larceny was up 17%. Various types of theft are up. Home invasions are up. I was just down in the Metroplex here in the last few days, and all types of theft is going up. So we are seeing signs of collapse of our society here in America, all around America.
Well, that's for sure. And I think for those who can do so, people should have weapons, know how to use them, have them readily available, don't have them all locked up in the safe. And I've had a home invasion robbery when I lived in Malibu, and there were 3 people, and we had a shootout, and they lost. Obviously, I was better trained than they were. And so it can happen in Malibu. It can happen in Springfield.
Bob, was that with a 45?
No, I ended up with a 9mm, and I started off with a 32 auto. I ran out of ammo. My son threw me a 9mm, and I went through the 13 rounds of that. And then my wife and daughter appeared with AR-15s, and we were ready to go.
That's wonderful, and I'm glad you were prepared for that. I'm glad that you took the better half of that equation, and I'm glad you're here with us at usaprepares.com.
Well,
Bob,
thank you.
I'm looking at page 13 of the latest issue of the Forecaster, and this is just astonishing, this statistic. just 17% of likely U.S. voters believe the federal government has the consent of the governed. I assume you mean that 17% of the people believe that the government has the consent to do what they are doing, and the majority, the vast majority, think the government is out of control.
That's true. And the 17% is saying, hey, they listen to me. The other 83% is saying, no, they don't listen to me. And there was another poll, and it said people believe that they're not being listened to, and they listen to corporate interests. And what, in essence, they're saying is, who's ever paying them off? Campaign contributions are payoffs. You don't get money for nothing. You have to fulfill the agenda of the donor. Mm-hmm. And it should be stopped, just like lobbying and a whole bunch of other things we don't have time to cover today. But that would be a great beginning. But what legislature do you know is going to vote not to have that kind of money anymore? Europe has a good system. Can't campaign for more than 60 days before the election, and everybody gets the same amount of money, and so you have to campaign on your platform and the facts.
That sounds great. Bob, in the remaining few minutes that we have, can you tell our class what is meant by the trade deficit? Because on page 11, the trade deficit unexpectedly increased to the highest level since October 2008 as a slump of exports exceeded a decline in shipments from overseas. Can you explain what you mean and what is meant by a trade deficit so that our class will know?
Well, America exports goods and services. It imports goods and services. And the difference between what goes out and what comes in is a trade deficit or surplus. And it's really as simple as that. Mm-hmm. And the United States government has ways of finding out how they collect this information, this data, usually from corporations. They ask them to submit it, which they do. And it's not only in corporations that manufacture things. There's service companies. There's even hospital companies. And it's a very, very involved process. And it's very important because when you're not bringing in more than you're buying and you're in deficit all the time, you're in debt all the time. And that's the situation that America is in and has been for many years. And up until recently, nobody cared about it.
So we cannot pull out of this depression until we start manufacturing. Is that correct, Bob?
And the only way we can do that to reverse free trade, globalization, offshoring, and outsourcing is to have legislation resubmitting tariffs on goods and services to have a level playing field. Until we have that, America is going to go down the chute.
Bob, we need to run you for Congress is what we need to do. Hey, really appreciate you joining us today on USA Prepares. Great information as usual, Bob, and we will see you here, same time, same bat channel next Tuesday, Bob.
You will, and thank you very much, and thank you all for listening.
You have a good week, sir. The great Bob Chapman, Vinny, every Tuesday. Great information, and I wanted to make people aware tonight. The Young Conservatives are going to have their monthly meeting at Cox North there in their fountain room. That's at the corner of Division and Benton, and it's going to be at 7 o'clock, and they're going to have a geothermal expert there, Vinny, and I think that's great. What do you think?
I think you should go, Mark, because I won't be able to make that one, but because I will be at the Springfield Herbal Society. We're going to be talking about tinctures and what we talked about with cayenne pepper.
Any closing thoughts?
Above all, honesty and integrity.
What happens next
is up to you.
Vincent, Mark, thank you. Although classroom activities are completed for today, we are not finished. Study what you have learned and share it with your friends and family. Your homework is to visit usaprepares.com. Remember, class meets daily at 3 p.m. sharp on KWTO 560 AM. No notes from your mama, no excuses. What happens next is up to you.
You're listening to 560 KWTO AM Springfield. And for the latest weather information, log on to our website, newstalk560.com.
CBS News. I'm Harley Carnes. The mixed signals on the U.S. economy continue. Factory output up a little bit, but that was thanks to auto production. New home construction went down, but it's down from an up month, so essentially flat. The smart news is American consumers are paying their credit cards on time and saving more money. John Alzheimer at smartcredit.com.
The stable outlook is actually the most interesting part of the rating because it was expected that Fitch would keep the grade at AAA. Stable outlook means that it expects the rating to stay there. In fact, that's sort of reading between the lines. Fitch is saying that AAA is here to stay.
That's Jill Schlesinger at CBSMoneyWatch.com. After Fitch, the ratings agency, as expected, kept the U.S. bond rating at the top. The economy, the size of government, national debt, and jobs are all the hot button